Hi scientists! Today you are going to be doing your physical changes notes and textbook. We've combined the two together, okay? So first, don't forget to link the URL of this note sheet into your student slideshow on slide 6. You're going to see that right here. So your Cornell notes, physical changes, and you want to link it right there, okay? Now, let's go through our notes. So every time you see a box in gray, that's from your textbook, okay? And then when we get to the essential question and things, those are going to be your notes. So I'm going to start by reading my planet diary. Whenever I go to the beach, I spend a majority of my time building a sandcastle. I tried to build it after a high tide comes. That way I have a lot of time to build up the walls and they will not be destroyed as quickly by the water. Even though the waves will eventually destroy the castle and take the sand with them back to the ocean, the sand could be easily separated from the ocean. At the end of the day, when I leave and kick and stomp on my sandcastle, it is still sand. Only its appearance changes. So what they're saying is a physical change is when you take matter or some stuff and change the shape. So here's some sand. This person changed the shape into a sandcastle shape, and now it is a castle. It's still sand, it just looks different. Okay, that's the key for a physical change. You change the way it looks, but it's still the same matter. Now we're going to talk about that word matter. Okay, our essential question, students, is what are the blank, I'm going to type in 3 types of physical changes. You might need to do that as well. Okay, so we're going to read this. This is part of your textbook again, and remember, we're going to be thinking about what should we highlight and what should we underline. I'm going to make a copy really quick. All right, here we go. How can matter change? A physical change changes the form or appearance of matter, but it does not turn any substance in the matter into a different substance. So matter is all the stuff you are made of. Your hair, your eyelashes, your teeth. It is all the stuff in this cell phone. It is all the plastic pieces in this water bottle. It is all of the particles of this plant. Matter is everywhere. It's everything that everything is made of. In science, we don't call it stuff. We call it matter. Okay? In the image here, a butter artist has changed a block of butter into artwork. Although it looks different, the sculpture is still butter. A substance that goes through a physical change is still the same substance after the change. Okay? So what he's saying is that it was a big, huge block of butter. He changed the way it looks, he manipulated it, he carved it, and in the end, it looks completely different. It doesn't look like a block anymore, but it is still butter. That is a physical change. Okay, so now we need to highlight and underline some things. Remember, we're only going to underline what the physical change is, not the examples of the butter, okay, but what is the paragraph saying about what is a physical change? Okay, so what do you think we should underline? As I'm looking at it, I see here it says a physical change, and then it talks about what it means. That is the sentence that makes sense to underline, okay? Because it's not talking about examples, it's not talking about cutting or carving or shaping. It's just talking about what is the meaning of physical change. It changes the form, but it does not change it into something different, okay? So we're even going to then highlight the important words of changes the form, but does not turn it into a different substance. So I'm going to highlight not turn and different substance or matter. So now students, yours needs to look like mine. Okay, if you need to pause the video, press pause and make yours look like mine. All right, let's keep going. We're going to put this into notes now. This is your notes. A physical change changes the form or appearance, but not the matter or stuff itself. Okay, so for example, down here, it looks different, but it's the same substance. Make sure yours looks like mine. Then we have a question. What will happen to the butter if it stays in the sun on a hot day? Well, we kind of have an idea, right? Let's do our I predict statement because we have will here. So let's say I predict that the butter will, and then you finish it up, okay? Pause the video and finish your sentence. All right, students, if you said the butter will melt, that's probably what would happen. Melting is a physical change because it was a butter statue, okay? And now the sun is beating on it and it's starting to melt into a butter puddle. So it looks different. It doesn't look like a statue anymore, but it's still butter. It didn't change the actual stuff, okay? So let's keep going and talk about that. Those are called state changes. There are 3 states, right? Solids, liquids, and gases. Let's read our textbook. As you may know, matter occurs in 3 familiar states. Just said that. Solid, liquid, and gas. Suppose you leave a small puddle of water on the kitchen counter. When you come back 2 hours later, the puddle is gone. Has the water disappeared? No. A physical change happened. The liquid water changed into water vapor, which is a gas. So it went from a liquid to a gas, okay? But it is still water. The water is still there, even though you can't see it as a gas in the air. A change in state, such as from a solid to a liquid or from a liquid to a gas, is an example of a physical, and I'm going to change that to state change. All right? So students, the sentence we need to underline has to be what a state change means, okay? Not about the examples of the puddle or the butter melting, but what is a state change? If you said that we should underline that sentence, you are correct because it's telling us a change in state. So I'm going to highlight that because that's our main topic. Such as from a solid to a liquid, okay, that would be melting, or a liquid to a gas, that would be evaporating, is an example of a state change, okay? Yours looks like mine. Pause the video if you need to. Let's look at some examples. Here we have a puddle evaporating. Okay? That is going from a liquid to a gas. All right? Here we have some ice cubes, and they are melting. That is going from a solid ice cube to a liquid puddle, okay? Last one, these are making popsicles. If you've ever made popsicles out of Kool-Aid or lemonade or any kind of juice. So when you make popsicles, it starts out as, I think that's how you spell popsicles. It starts out as a liquid, like your juice, and then it goes to a solid when you put it in the freezer, all right? Pause the video and make sure yours looks like mine. All right, students, next. Our next kind of physical change is a shape change. Let's talk about it. Let's read our textbook. There are many types of shape changes. Whenever you change the way an object looks by moving it or manipulating it, you are making a shape change. One example of a shape change is folding. The image to the right shows a piece of green paper folded into a frog shape. The paper now looks like a frog, but it is still paper. Other examples of physical changes or shape changes are bending, crushing, breaking, and cutting. Okay? So the paragraph talks a lot about this frog, right? We have a piece of green paper, we fold it, we manipulate it, and now it's a frog. Still paper, but it looks different. Okay? The sentence we need to underline is this one. Whenever you change the way an object looks by moving it or manipulating it, you are making a shape change. Okay? So, I'm going to highlight change. We're changing the way it looks. Highlight that. And we are changing the way it looks by manipulating it or moving it around. So I'm going to highlight that. Okay? All right, yours looks like mine. Pause if you need. Let's take a look at 2 examples. Here I see an example of a t-shirt being folded. Okay, oops, folded. The shirt, I got a fly buzzing around me, looks different, but it is still a shirt. All right, the t-shirt like this looks much different from the folded t-shirt, but it's still a t-shirt. Okay, this person is cutting a little bear out of paper. Okay, cutting paper. The paper, after you cut it up, it's not a cute rectangular piece of paper anymore. So the paper looks different, but it is still paper. That's the key to physical change. Okay? Let's take a look at one more. Dissolving. Dissolving is the 3rd type of physical change. Okay? So here it says, is there a physical change when you dissolve a teaspoon of sugar in water? So you pour, like the picture, sugar in water, you stir it. Is that a physical change? Well, to be sure, you would need to know whether or not the sugar has been changed into something different, like salt or baking soda. For example, you know that a sugar solution tastes sweet, just like the sugar. If you pour the sugar solution into a pan and let the water dry out or evaporate, the sugar is going to remain on the bottom like a crust on the bottom of the pan. The crust might not look like the sugar before you dissolved it, all the powder, but it's still sugar. So dissolving is a physical change. Okay? So let's figure out what we need to underline in this sentence. Okay? So there's a lot of examples here of water and sugar, and so we may not be able to find the exact sentence that says what dissolving is, but let's see. You pour, let's do this. You need to know whether the sugar has been changed to a different substance. Let's do this. Dissolving is a physical change. We're going to underline that, and we're going to also underline the sugar will remain at the bottom of the pan. If you pour the sugar, I know that's an example, but we're going to underline it to let us know that the sugar is still sugar, the water is still water. Okay? Now on your own, students, if you want, you can click on this video. It goes like in fast motion. Water, some sugar water, or this one is salt water, sorry, my bad, dissolving into the air and having the salt left in the pan. All right, almost finished. We are going to take our notes on dissolving. Dissolving is a physical change. Water and sugar combine together, okay? But even though it looks different, because you can't see the sugar particles anymore, I can see Elsa in the background. Even though the sugar particles, you can't see them, or the salt particles, because they're dissolved and now it just looks like cloudy water, there is still water and sugar there. It did not change into something different. The sugar didn't change into salt. The sugar didn't change into a pencil. The water didn't change into Coke. Okay? It didn't change into milk. It's still water and sugar. It just looks different when you mix it up. All right, students, don't forget to link this in your physical changes slideshow.